हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू मनु लॉ क्लासेस। आई एम गौतम दीक्षित। आज के इस वीडियो में हम नवंबर 24 2021 का डेली हिंदू एनालिसिस करेंगे। डेली हिंदू एनालिसिस के वीडियो को एक्सेस करने के लिए आप प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब कीजिए द यूट्यूब चैनल ऑफ मनु लॉ क्लासेस प्राइवेट लिमिटेड। आज के जो हमारे बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज़ हैं वो एक है कमिंग फ्रॉम इंडिया यूएस ट्रेड पॉलिसी फोरम। आज हम इसके बारे में पढ़ेंगे। The next news we are going to read about the cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill 2021। इसके तीन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं जिसे आज हम देखेंगे। देन डिफेंस एक्विजिशन काउंसिल ने अप्रूव किया है फॉर द AK-203 डील विद रशिया असॉल्ट राइफल। वी विल स्टडी दैट। वी विल ऑल्सो स्टडी द इंटर गवर्नमेंटल एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड रशिया, उसके क्या implications है। The next which we are going to study is about the gallantry award. So Mahavir Chakra and Veer Chakra has been bestowed posthumously on the Galwan Valley heroes. We will see that also. Then we are also going to study about the Bharat Gaurav train, which is very important news for today. And then on the foreign page and the economy page both, we will study that US and India both are releasing 50 million barrels of oil and 5 million barrels of oil respectively। आज हम इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑयल रिजर्व है उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा न्यूज़ देखेंगे। एंड देन कमिंग ऑन द एडिटोरियल पेज, वहाँ पे आज हम देखेंगे सूडान क्राइसिस, उसको हम आज बहुत ही अच्छे से करेंगे। एंड देन वी विल हैव द इंफोग्राफिक्स रिलेटेड टू द एनुअल स्टेटस ऑफ एजुकेशन रिपोर्ट रिलीज बाय द प्रथम NGO। So let's start with the news. The first news is the India-US commit to linking economies across sectors। तो यहाँ पे आज का जो फर्स्ट न्यूज़ है, इट इज़ अबाउट द India-US दे हैव अनाउंस्ड टू रिवाइव ट्रेड पॉलिसी फोरम। सो आज ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज़ है, इसको थोड़ा सा ध्यान से हम पढ़ेंगे। सो जो ट्रेड पॉलिसी फोरम है, इट वॉज कन्वेन्ड आफ्टर 4 years, विच इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। एंड नाउ it was represented by two personalities. One from India was Shri Piyush Goyal, who is Commerce and Industry, Textile, Consumer Affairs and Food and Public Distribution Minister, and the US was represented by the US Trade Representative Ambassador Catherine Tai। ये नेम बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्लीज़ इसको नोट कर लीजिए। नाउ the aim of this trade policy forum is to take economic ties between the two countries to the next high level। यहाँ पे जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ें जो डिस्कस की हैं, यहाँ पे मार्केट एक्सेस बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्कस हुआ है। मार्केट एक्सेस, नाउ मार्केट एक्सेस क्या होता है? मार्केट एक्सेस का मतलब होता है कि द गुड्स फ्रॉम US टू इंडिया, दे बोथ शुड हैव द मार्केट एक्सेस। नाउ व्हाट इज द बैरियर टू मार्केट एक्सेस? टैरिफ इज द सिग्निफिकेंट बैरियर टू मार्केट एक्सेस। तो यहाँ पे जो डिस्कस होने वाला है वो है अबाउट दी reducing the tariff, that is called as targeted tariff reduction। उसके बाद the next is the two sides they have decided to activate the working groups of trade policy forum on following, that is agriculture, non-agricultural goods, services, investment and intellectual property। The next is that the forum has decided to forge an agreement to facilitate US market access for mangoes, grapes, मतलब Indian goods which will have access to US market, that will be mangoes, grapes, pomegranates and pomegranates arils। pomegranate arils मतलब जो pomegranate होता है, अनार होता है, जो उसके अंदर का जो वो मटेरियल होता है, that is called as pomegranate arils। Then the US product which will have access to Indian market will be cherries, pork and pork products and alpha hay for animal feed। Then discussions will also be held for enhancing market access for US products such as distillers dried grains with solubles and water buffalo meat and wild caught shrimp from India। अच्छा, इंडिया का एक जो मेजर डिमांड है, that is restoring the GSP benefit। Now what is this GSP benefit? The full form of GSP is generalized system of preference benefits by the US। Now this GSP benefit or generalized system of preferences, it was established by the USA by Trade Act of 1974। तो अगर GSP के बारे में क्वेश्चन आएगा, सो इट इज बाय ट्रेड एक्ट ऑफ 1974। नाउ व्हाट इज द एम ऑफ दिस GSP? It aims to promote economic development by eliminating duties on thousands of products from developing countries। So if any developing countries is engaged in trade with US and if that country is put under GSP, then that country will have access to US market, that is called as GSP। Now what is the aim of this GSP? It aims to promote economic development by eliminating duties on thousands of products from developing countries। So if any developing countries is engaged in trade with US and if that country is put under GSP, if any country is doing trade with US and that country is put under GSP, that is generalized system of preferences, then they have to give very less duty. The next important thing is that forum has also agreed on the significance of negotiating the social security totalization agreement in the interest of workers from the both sides. Now why this is important? This is important. Now see over here that the IT professionals who are working in US, they find it very difficult to move their pension fund from US to India, and similarly the US workers in India find it very difficult to move their pension fund from India to US. Now the social security totalization fund will enable the swift flow of social security contributions from one country to other. Now we also have an editorial related with it about the India US ties. So already the India, it was not given GSP, it was taken out of the list of GSP. Then this trade forum, this was going on from the last 4 years, but no concrete results had come out. There are pending Indo-US trade issues in WTO also, especially related to the waiver on COVID-19 vaccines manufacturing in India. So in the coming days we have to see that how US navigate this trajectory, and if it allows the manufacturing of US made vaccines by allowing the waiver under the TRIPS of WTO. The next is new crypto bill seeks to ban private players. So in the winter session of Parliament, which is going to begin on November 29, the center is going to introduce a bill which is called as Cryptocurrency and Regulation of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021. Now इस बिल को अभी भी कैबिनेट ने ऑफिशियली अप्रूव नहीं किया है, बट what is the aim of this bill? The 3 points very important. The first is that it will create a framework for the creation of the official digital currency to be issued by the Reserve Bank of India. जैसे कि आपने बिटकॉइन का नाम सुना होगा, it is a digital currency, but in India this bill is not going to allow private digital currencies to function. In lieu of that, the Reserve Bank of India will issue the digital currency. So that is the first point. The second point is the bill also seeks to prohibit all private cryptocurrencies in India. The third is the bill is going to provide exceptions to promote the underlying technology of cryptocurrency. ये underlying technology of cryptocurrency जो है इसको हम कहते हैं blockchain technology. We call it as blockchain technology. So the blockchain technology will be adopted in India, but private cryptocurrencies will not function in India according to this bill. Now coming to the news from defense sector. So Defense Acquisition Council has approved the deal with Russia related to AK-203 assault rifle. So we have to go through the timeline. So in 2019 an intergovernmental agreement was signed between India and Russia. That is the intergovernmental agreement. So the two countries, they signed an intergovernmental agreement in February 2019. What was the aim of this intergovernmental agreement? It established a joint venture which is called as Indo-Russian Rifle Private Limited in India, in Korwa, in Amethi, in Uttar Pradesh, for manufacturing the rifles. Now the JV is between one Indian company and one Russian company. The Indian company was Ordnance Factory Board and the Russian company was Rosoboron Export and Kalashnikov from the Russian side. This company was headed by a Major General who was made the Chief Executive Officer of Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited, or IRRPL. Now the aim of this is to manufacture AK-203 assault rifle in India. Now India has also signed a deal in August for the procuring 70,000 AK-103 assault rifles. Then the delivery of it will begin in 3 months. Another deal which is likely to make progress is IGLA-S Very Short Range Air Defense System. KA-2260 utility helicopter is also India is willing to buy, but it is unlikely to be cleared during the 2+2 dialogue summit between Russia and India, which is going to be held very soon. Then the Defense Acquisition Council has also approved a proposal for the procurement of communication satellite for Indian Air Force. The name is GSAT-7C. Now this GSAT-7AC satellite and ground hub for software defined radios, the aim is to enhance the ability of armed forces to communicate beyond line of sight in all the circumstances in a very secure mode. The next is the Mahavir Chakra. So we had already done yesterday about the gallantry awards in India. So Mahavir Chakra is the second highest wartime gallantry award of India. The highest gallantry award in India during wartime is Paramvir Chakra, and third is Veer Chakra. So Colonel B. Santosh Babu, who was the commanding officer of 16 BR, who was among the 20 personnel who was killed in the Galwan Valley clash of June 15, 2020, he was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. Now Veer Chakra, it has been awarded to Havildar Tejinder Singh of 2 Medium Regiment. Then 4 other personnel, Naib Subedar Nuduram Soren, Nayak Deepak Singh from 16 Bihar, Havildar K. Palani from 81 Field Regiment, and Sepoy Gurtej Singh from 3 Punjab. They all were honored with Veer Chakra posthumously. Veer Chakra is the third highest wartime gallantry award of India. Now let's see what is Operation Snow Leopard. So during the Galwan Valley clash, when the Chinese army or PLA, when they intruded into India's era, so under Operation Snow Leopard, Colonel B. Santosh Babu was tasked with establishing an observation force in the face of the enemy, and he successfully executed the task. That's why he has been bestowed with Mahavir Chakra. Now the names of these 20 soldiers who were killed on the Galwan Valley, they have been inscribed at the National War Memorial in New Delhi, and the Indian Army has built a memorial that is called as Gallants of Galwan at Post 120 in Eastern Ladakh. Now rights bodies and activists, including the United Nations Special Rapporteur, on Tuesday they have reacted sharply to the arrest of Kashmir-based human rights activist called as Khurram Parvez by the National Investigation Agency. Now we did a news on last Sunday that Valley-based insurgent group VBIG and PLA, they carried out an ambush on Assam Rifle, killing a colonel, his wife and a minor son, totaling to 7. Now there is a report that PLA is rubbing shoulder with an army, gave new confidence to the extremists to strike in Manipur. So over here what is happening is that this PLA is helping the Myanmar army against fighting the war against the pro-democracy resistance groups, which has emboldened the People Liberation Army. Now what is People Liberation Army? It is a Manipur based extremist group which carried out an ambush on Assam Rifles convoy. The next is Bharat Gaurav scheme eyes railway tourism. So now this Bharat Gaurav scheme of railway tourism is, so there will be now 3 different trains in railway. Earlier we had only 2. One was for goods or called as freight railways, and one was for passenger. Now we have the third leg for tourism, which is the part of Bharat Gaurav scheme. So Bharat Gaurav scheme, trains for tourism will be organized. So see, to tap the huge potential of tourism, the railway has announced the Bharat Gaurav scheme, under which theme-based tourist circuit trains, just like we have already read about Ramayana Express, they will be run either by private or state-owned operators. The next is Allahabad High Court reduces sentence in POCSO Act. So over here there are 2 sections, section 4 and section 6. So if you will just see section 4, it is and section 6. So section 6 is for punishing a person for aggravated penetrative sexual assault, and the maximum sentence under it is life imprisonment, and the minimum sentence is of 10 years. Now in Allahabad High Court, a single judge bench, it has said that the oral sex with the minor is not an aggravated sexual assault, but it is a lesser offense under section 4. So the trial court, which had sentenced him to 10 years rigorous imprisonment, Now the High Court has reduced the quantum of punishment, saying that it was not an aggravated penetrative sexual assault, but it was only penetrative sexual assault. The next is Manila, which is the capital of Philippines, has accused Beijing of harassment. So we had done this last day also, that ASEAN-China summit was going on, where China had assured its Southeast Asian neighbors that China does not seek dominance, but still China has a maritime dispute with Asian countries, especially Philippines, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei. So now the Philippines has said that China is practicing intimidation and harassment after Philippine Navy personnel were fined and photographed unloading goods in the disputed South China Sea. So over here, the place which is in dispute is Thomas Shoal in the Spratly Island, which is contested by Philippines and China both. Now this news is about the US freedom of navigation exercise carried out. So under that exercise, the US ship USS Milius was on a routine transit in the Taiwan Strait, and this goes against the China's principle of one China policy. But US considers that this is a strait which separates Taiwan and China, and hence US has conducted the passage exercise in the Taiwan Strait. The next is that US is going to release 50 million barrels of oil to ease soaring prices. So President Joe Biden has announced that US will release 50 million barrels of oil from the US strategic reserves. Now the aim of this release of oil is to tamp down the soaring fuel prices. अगर हम देखेंगे कि why it has happened, now see, the OPEC and OPEC plus countries have refused to increase the production. So there is a scarcity of crude oil in market, and hence its prices is going up. So to bring the prices down, US in coordination with China, India, Japan, Republic of Korea and United Kingdom, they are releasing oil from their reserves so that prices may go down. The next is UN has raised $600 million for Afghanistan aid. Countries like United States, European countries and Japan helped the UN to reach the goal of $606 million. So United Nations has made a flash appeal for more than rupees $600 million to support the humanitarian response in Afghanistan. Now, according to United Nations, Afghanistan is on the brink of humanitarian catastrophe, where more than half of its population is at risk of not having enough to eat. Remember, we had also done that the Taliban government had launched a Work for Wheat campaign to solve the problem of unemployment and food security. Earlier, European Union had given euro $1 billion human aid, 1 billion euro to Afghanistan as aid. The next is Apple has sued the Israeli spyware maker NSO. The next is about the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, headquartered in Rome and one of the specialized agency of the United Nations. So according to FAO report, countries they must brace for future food shocks, and it will be impacted by the food system will be impacted by drought, flood or disease following the fallout from the pandemic. The next is the same news which we have done. It is a continuation of that in tandem with China, Japan, US and other major economies. India is also going to release 5 million barrels of crude oil from its emergency stockpile in tandem with US, China, Japan to cool down the prices. अब इंडिया के स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑयल रिजर्व्स के बारे में हम देखते हैं. तो इंडिया जो है इट होल्ड्स 5.33 million tons of strategic reserve, which is enough for 9.5 days. Now this strategic reserve is held at 3 places in India, one at eastern coast and 2 at western coast. So one at eastern coast is Visakhapatnam, 2 at the western coast is Padur in Karnataka and Mangalore in Karnataka. Now from this strategic oil reserves, the oil will be released to Mangalore Refinery and Petrochemical Limited and Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, because these 2 oil refinery plants are connected by pipeline to the strategic reserves. Now, Indian bond prices is falling and rupee is weakening because investors are claiming that the US Federal Reserve will stay on policy tightening course in the middle of 2022 because the chairman of Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, he has been going to seek a second term at Federal Reserve. The next is NABFID. The full form of NABFID is National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development. It was announced in the Union Budget of 2021-22 that government is going to set up NABFID, a dedicated financial institution for financing infrastructure projects in India. The head or chairman of NABFID is KV Kamath. So the aim is the development finance institution. It aims to catalyze investment in the infrastructure sector in the country, and it has identified 193 projects of rupees 1000 crore each under the National Infrastructure Pipeline for financing. The next is one-liner news. ICICI Bank unveils online portal for Exim Trade. So ICICI Bank has unveiled Trade Emerge, which is an online platform to offer digital banking and value-added services to exporters and importers across India. Now, editorial. So this is the continuation of what we have already done about the US-India Trade Policy Forum, and which was languishing from past 4 years, but now it has been revived to improve the trade relations between both the countries. Now this comes under the backdrop of when two major automobile companies, Harley Davidson and Ford, they have left India. Similarly, the Joe Biden administration has shut the door on new trade pacts, and he is not responding to restoring the GSP status of India. The next is about the transition troubles. So it is about the restoration of civilian leaders in Sudan following the military coup. So over here, the Sudan, we will just go through the highlights because we are going to do it in detail in this one. So Sudanese military chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's decision to reinstate the ousted Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok is a climb down. Now what has happened over here, that on October 25th, General Burhan, he dissolved the Sovereignty Council. The Sovereignty Council was the outcome of 2019 civilian uprising in Sudan against Omar al-Bashir, who was the dictator of Sudan. Now in this Sovereignty Council, military shared the power with civilian leader, but he arrested Abdullah Hamdok and he declared a state of emergency, and again there was a dictatorship in Sudan. But the people, they made a protest against this toppling of the civilian government, and then there was pressure from US also. So hence the General Burhan finally decided to reinstate Abdullah Hamdok and release all political prisoners after the coup. Now the country is going to make a transition into democracy, and the elections will be held in July 2023. The next is the article related to transition troubles. It is about the West Asia's nascent democracy. Over here, two countries case study has been taken, Tunisia and Sudan, and the third is it is discussing about the role of other regional players in Middle East like UAE, Saudi Arabia, that and Egypt, that how they play a role in dismantling the democratic elected government in West Asia. Now here it has been talked about the Arab Spring. So Arab Spring, it was an uprising in West Asia and North Africa which lasted for the decade, and it saw the transition to democracy in Tunisia in December 2010. Here the system worked. Okay, there was a new democratic constitution in 2014, and the system worked well until July 25 this year, when the country's president Kais Saied, he staged a constitutional coup and he suspended the constitution, democratic institutions, and the concentration of power in the president. Now the same thing has happened in Sudan, that Sudan, where the Omar al-Bashir government was gave way to a Sovereignty Council, which was going to play a role in making a transition to democratic elected government by 2023. But as we have seen in this editorial, that in October, General Abdel Fattah Burhan, he staged a coup and took all the power and arrested Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. Now, what is the role of the Gulf monarchies? Over here, the author is highlighting that Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, have engineered the overturning of the democratic process in Tunisia and Sudan. Why? Because they, according to them, successful democratic order is existential threat to them, because they all are monarchies except Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates are monarchy. The next article is about overvalued unicorns in a distressed economy. So over here, two examples have been taken, one of fintech companies, and the next is of edutech companies. So the article starts by giving an example of a failed IPO of a very famous IPO company. So over here, the article says that there has been a unicorn gale in India in recent years. Now, what are the reasons for that? Because in India there is an ecosystem which combines thriving digital payments, growing smartphone user base, digital first business models adopted by many startups. Okay, then expectations are high as the country has around 640 million internet users and 550 million are smartphone users. The next is the digital payment has seen a growth of 30.9%, and by the end of September 30, the unified payment interface registered 3.5 billion transactions. So the growth in the digital payment is reflected in the fintech sector. So if you will just see the period from 2011 to 2020 onwards, so in 2011 the first fintech unicorn in India was reported. What is unicorn? Any company which has the valuation of $1 billion, it is called as unicorn. But by 2020 we have 6 fintech unicorns, and already this year 7 fintech firms have joined the unicorn list. Now there are what is the major flaw in this fintech companies? So see, there are various firms like Tiger Global and Sequoia Capital who have been the major investors in these fintech companies. Now if you will just see that on what basis they are making a deal, so the bulk of these deals are on the basis of potential market opportunity, and there is an expectation that these fintech firms, they will sustain an initial level of hyper growth, but the fundamental financial performance of this business is not factored in while making a decision on investment. Or the second thing is that is this firm doing anything different? So the author is saying no, that the firm does not do anything different than what the other players are doing. Second, the spread of UPI, Unified Payment Interface, has made the firm's core business of wallet redundant and it is losing its market share. The next example he is giving is about the EdTech. So because of this pandemic and growth in internet users in country, the EdTech, they also saw a huge growth over here, and there are various advertisements on prime time television which is either related to digital payment firm or EdTech platform. But over here the author is saying that if we just see the report from the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, it says that 23 million households are there who earn more than rupees 5 lakh per year. Means there are only 23 million households in India, which is only 7% of all Indian families. It is only this 7% of Indian families where the behavioral change can take place for faster adoption of technology related products. Okay, the next is the road to a Himalayan blunder. तो यहाँ पे जो डिस्कशन हो रहा है वो 4 धाम प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में हो रहा है. यहाँ पे दो आइडियोलॉजीज के बीच में जो एक प्रॉब्लम है वो डिस्कस हुआ है, डेवलपमेंट वर्सेस इन्वायरमेंट. एन एग्जाम्पल हैज़ बीन टेकन ऑफ 4 धाम प्रोजेक्ट where 900 kilometers of hill roads will be widened so that access to this 4 धाम, this 4 धाम are यमुनोत्री, गंगोत्री, केदारनाथ एंड बद्रीनाथ. तो इनको एक्सेस बढ़ जाए कि ताकि उत्तराखंड जैसे स्टेट में टूरिज्म को फिलिप मिले, एक फोकस मिले. द सेकेंड थिंग इज अबाउट द सिक्योरिटी रीजन, दैट रोड शुड बी वाइडन सो दैट military equipments can be moved very faster on the frontier area. But over here we are giving up one very critical thing, that Himalaya is a geologically young fold mountain and in Uttarakhand, if you will just see, so in Uttarakhand the steeps are very sloped, that is 70 degree, around 70 degree. Now these steep slopes are very dangerous. If we cut this steep slope for widening the road, they become unstable, and this gives rise to landslides, flooding, and bursting of dam, which has already happened in Uttarakhand in last few years. So over here the authors are saying that we have to see the carrying capacity of the Himalayan region before deciding on the type of development we need. So we have to preserve the Himalayan geology. The development should take place taking into consideration the fragile geology of Himalaya. The next is about infographic. According to the ASAR report released by Pratham NGO, nearly 40% of the school students enrolled in private tuitions to supplement their education in 2021, and it has been significantly higher than the levels recorded in 2020. The second is that there was a substantial rise in the number of children whose parents have relatively poor education levels who are taking the tuition. So if we consider in all the states except Kerala, the proportion of children opting for private coaching has increased in 2021 compared to 2018. So that's all for today. We will meet tomorrow again with a daily Hindu analysis. Till then, have a nice day. Take care. Thank you.